Okay guys, thanks for joining us, and we've just got a minute or so. There's a couple of guys who would like to join us, so we'll see if they still come through, but yeah, thanks for your time. We've got a couple of guys online who've asked if they could join and ask some questions, because we have the one and only James Verster from Blue Nova here. James, nice to have you with us, thank you. James started Blue Nova in 2013. 15, close enough. 2015 started Blue Nova. And yeah, I'm delighted to have him here at the Microcare factory. Now, James is going to be going through a little bit about some of the new technology, and we're going to have a chance to ask some questions. But we had a number of people come online and say, "Oh, I can't make it. Can you go online?" And that's what we've done. So we'll get some questions through there, and we're just going to open up for questions as well, just in this first sort of 15 minutes as we're on Facebook Live, and then we're going to hand over to James to tell us about some of the new products and stuff. All right. So I'll kick things off, and then we can feel free to ask questions as we go. So just James quickly, I mean obviously we're seeing a tough industry. How are we going with Blue Nova?
Yeah, I think this is, I think after the two fires, this is most probably at that level. It's very, very serious.
Two fires?
Yeah, we had historically, we had some very exciting events where some of the charging transformers decided to burn, so we burned down the factory.
Proper manufacturing. You're not a proper manufacturer until you've burnt your own factory down, eh? We haven't got that
Twice,
yeah. And obviously, just an absolute flood of products into the market. I mean, staying competitive, staying relevant. How are you guys balancing all of that?
Yeah, so I think first of all, you must try and understand what happened, because there's a couple of things. First of all, we saw the price of lithium oxide going from about 35 US cents per amp hour all the way up to about 55, 60 cents per amp hour. You saw all the lithium battery prices flying through the roof. And then some really interesting things happened. There was a mass production of raw materials in China. And secondly, we had load shedding in South Africa. And the Russian war broke out, which meant that the Germans and the Russians, the Germans specifically decided not to buy in Europe, decided not to buy any goods from China. And the US imposed major import duties on the Chinese. Next moment, the price is coming down from about 60 US cents down to about 15 US cents, 4 times down on the biggest component of making lithium batteries. And the Chinese market in the US and Europe, it just disappears overnight, big time. And they focus all the energy on this load shedding opportunity in South Africa. Then we saw companies like S-Volt. We saw prices drop. If you think about your 5 kilowatt hour, we were selling 5 kilowatt hour batteries around about 32,000 rand in the retail market. Today they're selling for around about 14, 15. So it's like more than half drop in the prices. And massive stock pile-ups everywhere. And lithium batteries are like tomatoes, they have a shelf life. So people are dumping, people are panicking. The wholesale channels had stockpiled. I mean, I know stories about ACDC, Voltex, Rubicon, all the big channels fully stuffed with product. And these things are aging, and everybody is bleeding and giving these things away. And in the meantime, we saw inflation. So now the market disappears, and so there's blood in the streets. It's serious, and all the focus now is going to the next market, which is C&I, because of cost savings.
Yeah.
That's what the next part is all about. But I think residential is, in my opinion, dead and gone. I think EV is a great opportunity, and of course C&I cost savings. That to me is the next market.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that, the batteries in the C&I space, but let's just quickly talk about, as a local manufacturer, the challenges there. We know that with so many products on the market, I mean, is buying local, we always thought it was going to be a really big push. We spoke a little bit earlier, it's not really.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time with DTI, IDC, anything that's got to do with localization. And unfortunately, I think the relationship between the South African government and the Chinese government is extremely strong. And so the doors are wide open. We actually have great support from the government to bring in Chinese products. And that is something that at some point in time you have to accept. And I think we at Blue Nova has refocused the way we think about battery energy storage. So inverters, we'd already made peace with inverters a long time ago that we're not going to get this from the local market. I'm speaking about, let's say, 500 kilowatts, or let's say 100 kilowatts and up to 10 megawatts. Now, in my opinion, and also the strategy in Villanova, is that when it comes to batteries, especially with modules, competing with a company that's manufacturing, 50 to 100 megawatt hours per month, no, per week. So we've basically moved up the value chain, and we're focusing now on value add, like our energy management system, support, system design, in a higher level. We want to be like a specialist base company rather than a production company.
Okay, good. So you've pivoted a little bit, and that's what you're going to be focusing on, chatting to us as well. Okay. Any questions so far? Otherwise, and those of you online as well, feel free to send any questions if you have. Yeah. So just feel free to jump in if anyone has a question. All right. So just in terms of what we're seeing in the South African market, so obviously oversupply, completely flooded. So many will say, the residential market will recover. You're not seeing that happen. You're seeing that you need to pivot into sort of new markets. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, if you think about the residential market, there's a saying called the boer market plum. We had extended load shedding. Not like a couple of weeks. It was a long period.
Yeah.
And I think all those small businesses and companies and people have made a plan.
Yeah.
And you can make a plan for 40k for a 5x5, which is sort of a standard building block backup system for your house for less than 50,000 rand.
Yeah.
So I think that ship is sailed. There is most probably an opportunity in the lower level, but it's going to need government support, and I don't see that happening.
Okay. Yeah, for those of you just joining us online, thanks very much for your support, and feel free to send any questions there. Anyone in the room? I've got all my technical guys here as well. They're all just sitting there enjoying a beer, not going to ask any questions. BPs, DUs, that's obviously been the common ones. Tell us a bit about, before you go into these top ranges, what's going to be happening with those kind of ranges? Is there any plans for BP, sort of entry-level residential battery?
Nothing major. I think what we will do is to take, and I was asking you earlier on today, are all your BPs and DUs on our SMAC platform? Or whether we call it the BMAC. And the reason for this is that we will be spending a lot of effort in AI for modeling and predicting the behavior of the batteries over time. As I explained to you earlier on, is that by the time that you visually find out something is wrong with the unbalanced cell, this or that,
through a
BMAC, whatever, visually yourself, or an alarm of a shock jump or something like that, the damage is done. It's too late. It's 2-3 months down the line. And so if we're going to add AI to the platforms and more monitoring and analysis, so that we can preemptively act on these batteries to make sure that they last as long as we've promised them that they will last.
Yeah, so another question coming in is, obviously there's a big push now. We're starting to see sort of the back end of lithium, the first generation of lithium-ion batteries that came to South Africa that some of us had installed, and those are sort of like coming to the end of life and failing. There's going to be a massive e-waste of all of these batteries. Is that something that there's a discussion around about all these end of generation, end of life batteries? What's going to happen to all these cells?
So there's two issues here. One are the idle promises. Everybody,
Yes.
Where does this 10-year warranty come from?
Yes.
Nobody in the world does this except South Africa. Okay. In the CNI space now, it becomes like on the base, on the battery side, you've got 10 years. And so we've got a lot of warranties, and we've got 30,000, 40,000 products out there, and they've got 10-year warranties. And I think what we did when we started off is to make sure that when we select the cells, I personally went to China and I spent a lot of time finding these things. But I know of a lot of second life cells in the market, and telecom batteries, which are essentially backup batteries, being used in high cycle applications.
Sure.
And they will run out of capacity prematurely. And that will be fights that will be fought between the suppliers and so forth. I think we're fairly safe on that. We are in our 10th year. I've got lots of systems, big systems out there that has run for 10 years and with a solar above 80%. The second part of your question is what to do with all these, let's call it, end-of-life batteries. So I've got a whole presentation on it. But essentially, what we're seeing worldwide is that there's multiple types of technologies that is going to recover the materials or going to process these batteries. The predictions are that the value of, let's say, a container full of 5 megawatt-hour cells will have enough inherent value that it is actually not going to be a cost of getting rid of them, of disposal. So the disposal fee of, let's say, for instance, lead acid batteries used to be quite significant, whereas the disposal fee for 10-year-old lithium-ion batteries seems to be predictably not going to be that bad. So I think there's good news that these things can be recycled.
All right, and then maybe just the last one, and we'll let you go because the audience in the room is not engaging here. You mentioned the warranty. So what is that warranty? Maybe, because we've got quite a few people online here who are users, just some question about warranty. Is it?
We've basically designed a warranty right from the word go. We separate let's call it the retention capability of the cells, that's the cell performance, versus the electronics. So we separate those two. We normally have a 10-year performance warranty on the cells, and then we have a 5-year warranty on the electronics. So those two are separated. Then what we do is, once these cells age, and let's say for instance you get to year 8, and we decide that it's not worthwhile trying to repair this battery by replacing cells, then we calculate a value based on the usage. It's almost like a tire. You've done 60,000 and 80,000 K, so we will compensate you for the remaining part towards something else.
Okay. All right.
So limited type of protocol.
Okay. All right. We will see in the next 5 years. Anyone else? Otherwise, we're going to move over to carrying on. Okay.
So I have a question. So it's not lithium related, but I mean in the industry, what are you looking at in terms of the next type of storage technologies out there, and how far away are they?
So just for those of you online, the question was about what's the next sort of storage technology that you're possibly looking at. I know we're talking about specific battery, lithium-ion batterification, but are you looking at other sodium-ion or vanadium and all these words that have been thrown around?
So I think a year ago, and I was the number one guy saying that we should immediately switch over and start building sodium batteries. But because of this 55% price drop in LFP batteries, brand new, with track record, with great warranties, are now cheaper than sodium-ion. Now, having said that, we still believe that there's going to be a massive market for sodium-ion, especially because of the temperature debate. And we in South Africa don't necessarily have this low temperature problem, which means that we're not really going to be using them for that unless you're going to suit it in the highlands. So at the moment, I think I've changed my mind about sodium-ion. But what we see is that there seems to be quite a bit of runway still for improvements on LFP.
There's still space for improvement.
Yeah, we've just now seen the 314 amp hour cell in the same form factor as the 280. So by the way, the 280 amp hour is what they use in Model 1. Let's see. The Model 1, also mass production one? Model 1.
Model 1. Yes.
And also all the buses. I mean, the 280 amp hour cell are manufactured more than a million cells a day in China by 3, 4, 5 big guys. In 2025, that 280 will change to 314. And the latest numbers I've received from the labs is that the cycle life expectancy with still 80% retention at a 2-hour discharge is increasing from 6,000 to 8,000 cycles. That is spectacular news. I mean, just to give you an idea, if you cycle a 1 megawatt hour battery twice a day, 5 times a week, 52 weeks for 10 years, that's 5,200 cycles, you expect to have more than 80% capacity lift. Now imagine that goes up to about 86, 88%, which means that the amount of kilowatt hours that you can cycle increases. The amount of volume that you require to package this whole up, essentially in a 6 meter container, you can up to 5 million hours. And that means this, they also changed the module voltage from 52 to higher voltages to sort of 110 volts. And the reason for that is that every time you connect modules in between each other, there's cables, there's wires, there's fuses, and these things all lead to a reduced round trip efficiency. So you're seeing high swing voltages or high module voltages, high energy density per volume, per module, and higher cycle or higher state of health retention after 10 years. And the cost of ownership of a battery like that is now dropping between 1 rand per kilowatt hour cycle. Do the math, I'll show you. It's below a rand now. And that, together with PV, which I believe that in 2026, 2027 will cost less than nighttime estimate. I think we're going to go down to sort of 50 cents per kilowatt hour in the middle of the day. So you've got PV, middle of the day, for 40, 50 cents. You cycle a battery at 1 rand, it's 150 cost of ownership, and you're heading for evening peaks. That to me is the single biggest exciting thing, and it's LFP. So I'm not putting my money on solid state. Cobalt oxide is gone for many, many, many reasons. Nobody's backing that at all. And then if you think really what we want to do, we don't really want to go through the night. We just want to get through the peak. So all these big schemes of, you know, the cranes, you know, the very low cost energy storage device. This I call them the slow batteries. They are not that sexy anymore because we do have generation, right? It's albeit just maybe at about 30% or 40% of the peak. We just need to get rid of the peaks worldwide. And we can take the existing production capacity of the world and essentially not having to increase the capacity because we can just drop those peaks down by 30-40%. And that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years. We'll be around to see that. And I believe LFP will be in the front row.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so welcome. I see there's 32 of you watching online. Great to have you with us. So we've just been doing a bit of a Q&A with James. So what I'm going to do is hand over to James now and tell us about the exciting new things happening with Blue Nova, and then we'll close with this. So I hope you can stay with us online as well. And thank you, James. Great to have you with us.
Are you